Hello and welcome back to another video. Today here again on Forza Horizon 5 to take a look at the recently added and very strange looking Lynk & Co. 03+. It's available for completing 20 points in the winter season, although apparently the one you can win is invisible because Forza are incapable of adding images of vehicles. Luckily it's available in more than one colour because this yellow is clearly their best attempt at making something more horrible than BMW's Austin yellow, which they've come quite close to. It is a very good attempt, but luckily it is also available in blue, which looks very much like Volvo's Rebel Blue. It also has advanced painting options, which, as you might imagine, Paint Group 1 is the main body, and Paint Group 2 is not only the black roof, but also the mirrors and door handles. So, now that we've fixed that horrendous colour and painted it in this rather nice blue, I should probably explain for anyone who is unfamiliar with Lynk & Co. who they are. So, they're a Chinese-Swedish automotive company owned by Geely, who also own Volvo. So think of it as a Volvo, but slightly Chineser, if you like. They've actually made 9 models. The 01, the 02, the 03, which is this one, the 04, the 05, the 06, the 07, the 08, and you'll never guess what they called their final model. No, you're wrong, it was actually the 09. You can buy them in a traditional way, although I think only online in the sort of way you buy Teslas and things these days, or you can get hold of one on a subscription basis, which I thought was the whole kind of pretense of this company, was that was how they were doing it. So yeah, you can get it on subscription. Anyway, the model in this game, the 03, produces 251 horsepowers and 350 newton meters of torques from a just under 2-litre engine, and it weighs 1,615 kilos, so it's not all that light, but it's not as heavy as some things we've had added recently. It is also all-wheel drive, and from standard sits towards the top of B at 679 performance indexes. On the road, it feels much like any other slightly sporty saloon in this game, with slight understeering tendencies, as you might expect from a not particularly light all-wheel drive car. It will also hit a rather impressive 160-something, given a long downhill straight. It also has a rather cool interior with these yellow accents, but I think it's just amazing. It's just so much more interesting than most incredibly dull interiors you get in other cars. In terms of upgrades, it's got all of your usual engine upgrades, all of your usual platform and handling upgrades, all of your usual drivetrain upgrades, all of your usual tyre compounds, tyre widths, and track widths. It's got your usual Forza aero, along with that, which is a clue as to something else we're going to look at in a second, because there's a wing that isn't Forza aero, which is to go with this Tcr kit, which takes this car from looking, well, like this, to looking like that. So it still has those stupid on the top of the bonnet headlights, but you've got it lowers it by the looks of it, puts on a side vent, side skirts, bonnety bits, wider arches, nicer front, nicer rear. It makes the roof body coloured, but that's okay. Removes some badges, and look what it does to the exhausts. Takes them from there to there and makes them like that. And yes, just brilliant. It does also have a drivetrain swap and 2 engine options. So I've built it to the top of B class, but I wanted to do it whilst putting the TCR body kit on it and converting it to rear-wheel drive and putting the wing that goes with it. And then once I had done that, I kind of felt like, well, it was quite heavy to begin with, so I did some weight reduction, put in some anti-roll bars, put in a roll cage, which actually drops PI on this rather helpfully. But I kind of felt like with the body kit and wing, it kind of needed to sit quite low and look like a racing car. So I did then put in race springs, probably not very sensibly, because it now handles even better, which isn't really what it needed. Sport brakes, because I just hate standard brakes. I will just lock up and go into a wall. Some racing wheels, which look particularly good, which were actually recommended to me in a stream. So, yep, you know who you are who recommended those to me, so thank you very much. and I've increased the size of them so they feel the arches a bit better, and of course put in a race diff because it's free PI basically, it's nothing, although I never tune it anyway, so it's probably a waste. But anyway, there we go, those are all of the parts I've put in, so it still has the same horsepower as before, but has dropped 100 kilos in weight. So I did find this rather nice IKEA livery, which I would quite like to use, but I'm afraid I can't be using a car with that door number. After discarding that livery, I gave it a metal flake blue paint, and then managed to join a B-Class open online adventure in time for the start of the first race this time, which I don't think I've ever managed before. As expected, the handling was amazing, but it had no power whatsoever. I started in last and only gained 1 place in the first race. Second race I again started in last, gained a few places, but had to really push the limits in the corners to be able to get anywhere near anybody, and then did eventually overdo that in the final corner and hit a wall quite a lot. In the final race, it was Barrio de Plano, which was nice as it was actually a circuit, so that all handling builds almost worked. Still didn't feel that great though. But yeah, did get a good result there. So I think the conclusion really is that there isn't enough PI to play with to make it work in B-Class, especially if we're going with the wide body and wing, which are kind of a must-have on this car. So given it wasn't great in B, I've quickly made it up to A by increasing the tyre widths, adding a race transmission, reducing weight slightly with these parts, putting some slightly better brakes on, and adding some power to the engine upgrades, which is kind of where it was needed. After that, I went back for some A-Class Horizon Open racing, now equipped with 340 horsepower, which I still think isn't really enough, especially now we're a whole class higher in A. I joined only for the final race of an adventure this time at the Mexico circuit, where despite the game being nicer and putting me on pole, I did manage to finish last again. Again, it just didn't really have the power. So anyway, on to a full adventure after that, starting with Lanura's Sprint, where in one twisty bit the Lynk was okay actually, and did manage to overtake a couple of cars who immediately came past on the next straight, so I did end up finishing second to last. Next up was the Copper Canyon Sprint, where I had enough tight corners that I was somehow able to get up into second, and carrying the speed that this thing can carry through some of the corners on that track was pretty good fun actually. It's amazing overtaking people at twice the speed through very tight corners that they were able to do. But yeah, it did still lack straight line speed, and the final race was Arch of Moulage, which would, yeah, just nothing really interesting happened. It was just a very boring race where I finished somewhere in the middle. And that is going to bring an end to today's video, taking a very first look at the Lynk & Co. here on Forza Horizon 5. It's a really cool car to have, actually, something completely different, brand new brands brought in, and especially with that TCR body kit and wing, it is just a really, really cool and very different thing to have in here. So I am still very glad that it's added, and I have very much enjoyed driving this. However, upgraded in B-Class and A-Class, I think if you use the kit at least, that wide body and the wing, you're never going to have enough power for it to be any good. And I just can't bring myself to use it without the wide body and the wing. That would probably be the way to go if you do this. But yeah, I really like the wide body, so I couldn't not use it. But potentially, if we did a one-make race with these, maybe with everybody with a wide body and wing, it would be a lot of fun, because you want it to handle really well as a touring car, but that, unfortunately, isn't how online racing, how to make a competitive car in Forza. But anyway, there we go. That is going to do it for a first look at the Lynk & Co. Do go and check it out if you haven't already, because it has some cool upgrades and customization. But yeah, don't expect it to be brilliant in online racing. For now, though, that is going to be all. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll be back with the next video very soon.